You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life advicerr@gmail.com. Okay, we have a couple good ones. I want to start with something that's totally different. We haven't done anything like this before, so I'm very excited about it because at first I was like, this is a dumb one, Kyle. And now that I've read it, I don't think it's dumb. I love it. It is dumb, though. Okay, around spring 2019, when most of us began remote work, spring 2019?
I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
It's been a long quarantine, guy. I get it.
Maybe they started remote work 2019. Honestly, that's a very excusable mistake because I'll have times where I'm like, wait a minute, when was that? And I'll go, oh, that was then. I'm like, that wasn't that long ago, but it was. I don't know. Okay, so our guy started remote work at some point. I responded to a Microsoft Teams office chat. Oh, okay, so they had a chat going that I had the best pirate joke ever. My coworkers were like, great, let's hear it. I declined, but promised to tell it when we were all back in the office because the joke requires me to read the room. Most jokes do. I like this guy already. As remote work dragged on, they insisted on me telling the joke on a video conference. I again declined. This is, in fact, the best pirate joke ever, and I was not about to sully it over an impersonal medium. Remote work dragged on and on. My coworkers began to think I was just messing with them, that the joke didn't even exist. Gasp. First, there was confused anger and disappointment, but they quickly began to believe the whole joke was me egging them on about some epic joke that didn't actually exist. And while I stuck to my guns, talking it up, and yes, I've talked it up to the nines. Whoa, okay. Look at our guy here. The joke is impervious to expectations. They seem to fall in love with this perceived years-long elaborate ruse, or maybe a year and a half. Now that we'll all likely be back in the office after Omicron has passed, oh, really? Making that call, and hopefully without masks by 2023, do I tell the joke? Some seem to respect me more for sticking with this perceived ruse, but after all we've been through, they also really deserve a damn good joke. And he says, finally, my supervisor sometimes listens to your podcast. If you read this email, he will take it as furthering the ruse by seeking your advice on a fictitious joke, or will he finally believe the joke is real? All right. The reason I think this is so funny is I'm thinking about my one friend. I have more than one, but the one friend that I have in our group who this would be what he would do forever. He would just do it forever, even if there was a joke. And clearly the emailer is telling us that there is, in fact, a pirate joke. But I think the funnier thing is for you to just ride this out forever. Never tell the joke, because now the joke, no matter what it is, it still could be a really funny pirate joke. But it can't meet expectations. I mean, you're telling us that this is impervious to expectations, which I still think is sort of impossible for a joke. Everything in life is expectations, really, if you break it down that way. How you feel about a movie, how you feel about other people, your whole concept of going into a weekend. Depending on your expectations is likely how you're going to grade your enjoyment of it. So I don't know how The Office, like even if this is a banger of all pirate jokes, I don't know that it can live up. And I think it's way funnier as I think of this friend who would just be like, the joke is for you to be back in the office and then go tell the pirate joke. And your line should just be something like, it just doesn't feel right. Just doesn't feel right. Or, now's not the time for pirate jokes. And then that's your joke. And it plays forever because people, another thing about us is that, when we're told about something that we're going to, find out about, most of us care. Most of us will be like, I don't even care if it's terrible. I need to know. Like, I need to complete this series here. So I like your mindset on all this. I'm sure your supervisor's thrilled about you talking about the nines in the office. So take it easy on supervisors if you do listen to this podcast. But I think the move here is to never tell the joke. And the joke itself is you just having funny lines that are endless now. They're endless whenever you're asked about the pirate joke.
I think I like that route. I think both routes that are good here. I wonder if you could gift the joke to individual people for Christmas or something. Be like, I got you this joke for Christmas, but you can't tell anyone. Like maybe there's a way to not let everyone in on it, but maybe get it off your chest a little bit. I mean, like a wedding gift would be just everyone would hate you for that. But I'm just thinking of like where someone's
It's a
expecting
bad wedding gift.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's a bad wedding gift.
It would be hilarious though, like where somebody's expecting something from you, and what you bring to the table is that you get to listen, you get to hear this, and get some ownership of the greatest pirate joke ever. But you can't give it to just anyone. So I think that could be funny too. But yeah, I wouldn't do this over Zoom. It sounds like you've already committed to the bit of the bit. So
I mean, unless it's a hard 10 joke. And I wish there was a way, like, I wish that, and maybe we could like do a follow up on this and he could send us the joke and we could sort of like pilot test him for it. And like, we could tell him whether or not it's actually worth telling. Cause if it's not a 10, then everyone's going to get let down. I mean, even if it's a 10, it still might be a letdown. So I think, Ryan, you're 100% right. I think you just got to basically play it like, not the right time. No, not today. Maybe tomorrow.
even I'm like, tell the joke, dude. I want to, even just knowing about it for a little bit of time. Like, well, what's the joke?
Here's the thing. Is it his joke too? Did he make the joke up?
No
is it
way.
like a known joke?
I don't think he's a joke writer. My guess is, I mean, he's pretty funny in the email, and he's clearly pretty smart with the way he kind of set it up. Because at first I'm going, what is this? Like, I'm not reading this one. And then I got through it, and I was amused. But I think I'm extra amused personally because I'm thinking about this one guy, Mark, and how great he would be in delivering the constant, like, you know what? I'd love to tell it today, but today it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel like the right day for a pirate joke. And he would be so funny in that delivery. And that's why I just kind of keep laughing to myself. And maybe I'm on an island on this one. I still feel like, so I did Google a bunch of pirate jokes because I was trying to figure out,
Me too.
is there one that hits so hard? You know, and one of the first ones I found out, how do pirates know they are pirates? They think, therefore they are.
Yeah, there's a lot of R jokes.
Yeah, a
in
lot
here.
of R jokes. A lot of heavy ones.
Where do pirates keep their valuables? In a jar. You know, a lot of R's.
I'm hoping it's like a story joke, like the Funkhauser joke about the that he tells on the set of Larry's show. Like, I'm hoping it's got like a story and a setup, and then like it's super long and winding and it's not good, and then the end is so shocking that you're like, oh my god! Like, that's what I'm hoping it's one of those jokes, like a 3-paragraph joke.
I don't think it could be a one-line joke. I think it's got to be a story.
Yeah.
I
do think it. Yeah, I think it feels like one of those deals that has to be a big setup one. I
Like
don't
frustratingly
know.
long.
The Funkhauser one is good. Probably not Office acceptable.
Well, he does have to read a room.
Yeah, Funkhauser's just funny. I mean, he was just great at kind of being funny without trying to be funny, which goes back to all the Super Dave stuff. That was just like, it was. I don't know. Do you guys? There's no way you remember Super Dave as it was happening.
No, I found out from Bill
Did
and
you go
Sal,
back?
who were like, yeah, dude, but Super Dave, watch some of these things. So I watched them.
I found another one that was a long setup pirate joke. We should bring in Jeff Garland or Bargatze again for these, kind of running by those guys. See if they like any of this stuff. Yeah, all right. So, actually, International Talk Like a Pirate Day is September 19th. So, might want to put that in the old Microsoft team calendar. See if maybe that's the right day, or if somebody else in the office is like, hey, is it national? It's probably International Pirate Day, right? What did I
would
just
hope
say?
so.
Yeah, I feel like that couldn't be just
Pirates are everywhere, dude.
Yeah, internet. It's definitely international. I don't even know, as I just said it out loud, I'd forgotten what I said. How do pirates prefer to communicate? Eye to eye. I love that with this place I found.
It's pretty good.
There's part 1, and then there's pirate jokes part 2. Why is pirating so addictive? They say once you lose your first hand, you get hooked.
I think I got a good one. What's a pirate use a cell phone for? Booty calls.
Ah, that one's good.
Nice.
That one's good. And
that actually might land.
It's topical.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of updated. That's what I like about that one. Okay, I have one other one that's a bit longer for a story. Unfortunately, now I'm stuck in this horrible website that won't let me out of it. You people should be put in jail. It's just a guy trying to Google some pirate jokes here, and you're not letting me out. Okay, here we go. Maybe this is it. Long ago, when sailing ships ruled the waves, the captain and his crew were in danger of being boarded by a pirate ship. As the crew became frantic, the captain bellowed to his first mate, "Bring me my red shirt." The first mate quickly retrieved the captain's red shirt, which the captain put on and led the crew to battle the pirates' boarding party. Although some casualties occurred among the crew, the pirates were repelled. Later that day, the lookout screamed that there were 2 pirate vessels now sending boarding parties The crew cowered in fear, but the captain, calm as ever, bellowed, "Bring me my red shirt." Once again, the battle was on. However, the captain and his crew repelled both boarding parties. This time, more casualties occur. Weary from the battles, the men sat around on the deck that night, recounting the day's occurrences, when an ensign looked to the captain and said, "Sir, why did you call for your red shirt before the battle?" The captain, giving the ensign a look that only a captain can give, exhorted, "If I'm wounded in battle, the red shirt does not show the wound, and thus you men will continue to fight unafraid." The men sat in silence, marveling at the courage of man. As dawn came the next morning, the lookout screamed that there were pirate ships, 10 of them, all with boarding parties on their way. The men became silent and looked to the captain, their leader, for his usual command. The captain, calm as ever, bellowed, "Bring me my brown pants."
Heard that when I was 14. I hope that's not the one, dude, because a lot of people
Yeah.
have heard that one.
Yeah.
I kind of hope it is the one because it was either has to really land or if it just falls flat, it could be amazing.
Well, if you heard it, because if you heard it before, it's a long setup, and you hear red shirt in like the first 3 sentences, and you're like, okay, I'll take this ride.
Sorry, guy.
Okay. Yeah, I read that long one, and I didn't think it was great either. So maybe we're doing this because if he reads this and then gets that reaction from Kyle, who's like, I heard it at 14 years old.
I fell
imagine
out
if he's listening.
at 14, though. I thought it was
At 14,
genius.
you loved
I
it.
was, it
Were you-
was genius.
Were you working in an office at the time?
No.
I'm not making fun of you, Kyle. I'm making fun of the idea.
Oh,
that,
I just
yeah,
got I just got that. I feel like I got to be on my toes with you when I let you into my life. I feel like I feel like you're looking for openings for soft jabs, so I just got to be on my toes.
Are you
with
getting sick of the soft jabs? You getting sick of them?
Why don't you just wind up and really hit me with one? We'll see if I can handle it.
I wouldn't want to do that to you.
Yeah.
They're just okay. All right. Checking in from the gym. Got a lot of gym people. Here's an aside. Your gym jokes about everybody joining the gym after New Year's, those are more played out than the gym's being busy. All right. Those of us that have been doing this a long time, we made those gym jokes. You want to talk jokes? We're doing those 20 years ago, maybe 30. Who knows? I don't know what LA Fitness was like in the early 80s. But the Instagram thing, like, oh, look at the gym, it's busy. Find better stuff. Be more creative. We've done that. It's been done. Everybody knows it. And by the way, I'm thrilled there's more people there. Good for them. That's how I look at it. When I was young and a shithead, I'd be like, or look at this guy, look how weak he is. They're in there. I'm serious. This isn't me just doing a little Tony Robbins on you. They're in there. So give them credit. All right. 5'9", 165, an athlete, NAIA. So this can't be real. There's a guy in my gym right now with an actual speaker blasting music while he works out. Mind you, I have AirPod Pros in Flex. Are AirPod Pros the high-end ones, guys? Those
Yeah.
are the highest-end
Yeah,
ones?
I think those are like the 250.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. They're pretty sweet. They really are that good.
I got the regulars, and
Yeah.
I feel like they're only sell them so you can buy them and then also buy the pros.
One day, buddy. So we sent in a picture, too, of this guy, and he does look pretty serious. He's doing full-blown pull-ups and the speaker setup. His hands are big, too, man. So whenever you're going to have a conversation with a guy, always look at the size of his hands. And he's got pretty big hands. They almost look like it's CGI in this. Or maybe because he's kind of doing some wide pull-ups, too. So I don't know, man. My instincts are, and he also has some Pedialyte going. God, there's a lot going on here. It's fascinating. Anyway, his move, what he's doing sucks. It's an all-time selfish move. It completely sucks. Invest, if you could buy this Bluetooth speaker, and it's really up to the staff. So, again, I don't know what your level of confrontation, what you're comfortable with. There's actually a way you can kind of be like, hey, man, like, is that you're going to be your move? I would probably have to see it a couple times before I might say something. And I wouldn't want to have to tell on them. But it's really, if the gym is worth anything, then they go to them and say, look, we can't have, again, it's the rule of many here, right? And it's why I really don't like selfishness at times. It's just like, okay, so you're down doing your little thing, but you don't care about anyone else. And what if 30 people showed up to the gym with Bluetooth speakers? Like it would feel like we were in some sort of asylum. So not going to work, but I mean, it sucks that he's doing it, but I don't really know what you're going to be able to do here. Cause it looks like, if the guy's willing to do Bluetooth speaker, he's probably willing to throw some hands too.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's where Kyle comes in.
I think guys leave the house and they're like, I hope somebody tries me for my fucking Bluetooth speaker today. Like even people like on the beach, and I would never come up to people on the beach and be like, hey, could you stop ruining everyone's time? But like, I think that they're hoping that somebody comes up to their group like, hey guys, do you think you could stop? I think you absolutely know what you're doing when you're like, I could get headphones or I could use the speaker. Like it's a very clear choice, and I just think those people are probably more susceptible to turning a small disagreement into something physical.
Well, here's what you can do, Ryan. This is because I actually really like your advice from the last episode about like taking the future in-laws to the play and talking through the entire thing, just so they know the experience that you're going through. What if you got a couple of guys at the gym to all bring in Bluetooth speakers and you all play them at the same time?
Day.
So that then he can't just beat one of you up. It's all of you. He can't just be mad at one of you. It's all of you. It's like a group mentality thing. And then he's like, "This is how it feels, dude. It sucks. So stop doing it to us."
Yeah, and it has to be just like 3-4 different things, like Pantera, and then maybe some of those last songs on the soundtrack of The Place Between the Pines, which I love the soundtrack on top of the movie. Yeah, you know what? It's a great idea. Now, granted, for a decent Bluetooth speaker, you're probably talking $150, so it's a bit of investment in the joke.
They're great in the bathroom though, so you could if
you wait a minute, Bluetooth at the beach, Kyle? You're anti that?
I don't know. It depends on what's going on. Like I've seen like yeah, I kind of am, honestly. If you're on a crowded beach, I kind of am a little bit. Like, and there's definitely a respectable volume, but the Bluetooth beach people don't necessarily know what that is, I think.
What if they play Get Rich or Die Trying like front to back?
Again, I look around, and when I see that there's kids, kids, I kind of, I don't like smoking cigarettes outside in a place where you're allowed to smoke cigarettes if there's kids running around. I don't like it on Hollywood Boulevard.
I like that about you.
In Hollywood Boulevard, I'll like duck behind an alley because Hollywood Boulevard is a free for all. There's babies and kids, so it's just like it's kind of strange to smoke cigarettes on Hollywood Boulevard. But also, why are you bringing your kids to Hollywood Boulevard if you're whatever? All I'm saying is, when there's kids around, that's why beach is unique. Like when you got 2 Chainz talking about all the awesome stuff that he does talk about. Sometimes I think for 7-year-olds, it's not necessarily the best move. So if their parents didn't come there to be exposing them to that, who knows?
Yeah, I think there's as somebody that likes to. Actually, the beaches here, it still blows me away that they're always empty. But yeah, the full blown Bluetooth at the beach thing. Like there are times where you're like, okay, but I don't really.
If you're not like 30 yards away from the next guy, that's what I mean. Like if you're right next to people and you're like, this is sorry, it's a crowded beach day, but we're still going to do our thing with no regard for how close we are to everyone else. It's just annoying.
Yeah, if you're right on top of somebody else, then it's a little different. But if it's a packed weekend deal and you want to do a little EDM, I don't know. I'm sometimes anti telling people to stop having a good time within reason.
Right.
There's a building above mine where there's a roof deck, and I love my neighbors, and they had, I guess, their kids were there for a weekend, and they raged all weekend, like went for it. Music late in the night, unbelievable setup. And then the parents called me because I'm in my 40s going, you must have been so mad. And I was like, no, I was pumped for them. I was like, I don't care. I was like, it doesn't bother me. I barely heard it. I was like, I sort of heard it. And it sounds like they went pretty late. And they're like, well, someone called the cops. They thought it might have been you. I was like, I can promise you this. I'll be the last guy to call in for a noise violation for somebody else.
Yeah, I'll be annoyed and I'll hate you, but I won't tell you to stop. That's how I go.
Yeah. I wasn't even annoyed, and I was happy for him because it was, peak COVID. And I just thought, hey, I think it's cool. These guys are getting together and having a good time and using their parents' house. If they did it every single weekend, yeah, it would probably grate on some people. But I think somebody else called the cops on them because they were loud, but it wasn't me. And I told them straight up, it'll never be me. The gym thing, it just is up to your own acceptable level of confrontation. If you're not a confrontational person, based on this picture of this guy in his hands, I would say probably no. But yeah, maybe the Bluetooth speaker, you could do that organized, but seriously, but again, some gyms people care and some don't. I've been to gyms where people that work there take pride in it. And then I've been to other gyms like that last one I was at in West Hartford towards the end. I couldn't fucking believe how little anyone cared. And the funny thing is I actually liked a lot of the people that worked there. So I never really wanted to say anything, but you would just see people just not care at all. And then I got so mad, I tweeted out a photo of it. And the hilarious thing was then the New York affiliate has nothing to do with me, called to complain about me tweeting out a picture from this health club. And then I got yelled at about it. And I was like, do you care more about the New York affiliate thing that has nothing to do with me? And they were basically like, yes. I was like, okay, cool then. All right, one more. This is about mortgages. This is about money. And, I think it's a really good question, but I think it's a pretty easy answer. I'm not sure the emailer is going to love my answer here. I would think most people are going to agree with me on this one, but you never know. All right. 6'3", weight, air, scale maxes at 400. Not ideal. All right. Yep. That's all right, man.
You're funny too.
Listen to the Willie Cologne pod. You can do it. You recently talked about people living together and deciding the proper division of rent and utilities. Yes, we were talking about a guy that was going to potentially marry his girlfriend that was going to move in. I've been roommates with a coworker for 6 years. We've worked together for 4 years before rooming. We've split all the utilities and mortgage payments 50-50 since day one. In that time, the value of the house has likely doubled, then $200,000, now $400,000. Based on estimates from reality sites, from realty sites, Zillow, Realtor, etc. Look, I have a property on a Zillow that's listed on Zillow. The Zestimate is like 25% higher than the price that we just closed at. So, Zillow, realtors hate Zillow. We all like looking at Zillow. I enjoy looking at it, but I try not to be married to the Zestimate. All right. I think that's a good line. Yeah. Some realtors right now are in their car going, fucking finally, somebody fucking said it.
Yeah. My wife hates it. She's pumped right now. So there you go.
Okay. I plan to move out in the next year because I should probably grow up and find my own place at some point, considering I just hit 30. You mentioned that for a soon-to-be married couple, the contributions are investment in their future. This made me question whether I should feel entitled to some of the compensation for my years of mortgage contributions, since I won't be there to reap the benefits in the future. I didn't plan on asking for anything on my way out because we have a pretty smooth time as roommates. We've had a pretty smooth time as roommates, and I'm happy that he made a smart investment and bought when he did. I was the one pushing him to buy when he did, though. Interested to hear your guys' thoughts on the situation. Side notes for possible follow-up questions. My time sharing a house has been great. No unreasonable rules or requirements. Treated like family. He has steep child support payments, and he would struggle to afford the house without somebody else contributing, which he's saying is a big reason why he stuck around and paid rent. The money would be nice, but I'll be fine without it. Here's the deal. I get where you're coming from, right? This is, I think, a very classic example of, well, I'm seeing this my way and I'm not really seeing it that person's way. But my simple answer is no. I don't think you're entitled to anything. This is part of the agreement. He owns the house and he wanted to help with his payments and you needed somewhere to live. And that was the transaction. And that was it. It was never discussed ahead of time. You were friends, you were roommates. There's nothing that leads me to believe there's anything beyond that. And, if I'm him and you were to ask me like, hey, can I get a little something maybe on the way out here? I would, I would actually be pissed.
Yeah.
Because I'd say, first of all, we never talked about this and be like, were you there coming up with a deposit? I don't know what his deposit was. Generally on this kind of transaction, maybe at 200,000, you don't have to go the full 20%, but that's something for him to have had to put aside to save to go ahead and do the deposit, which I doubt you were involved with. I doubt you were involved with any of the paperwork. The 7 times you think you're fucking done. And then somebody goes, hey, what's up with this thing in your checking? Or, hey, how come your gas bill was late 60 days in 2013? That stuff sucks. It sucks. And you didn't have to do any of that stuff. So the other part of this is, let me put it to you this way. If he bought it for 200,000 and Zillow said it was worth 175, would you cut him a check when you moved out? Of course you wouldn't. You'd be like, what are you kidding me? This is your house. You're also on the hook for any of the maintenance as the owner. I doubt you paid any property taxes, or you could factor that in and say, well, that covered part of the mortgage thing, depending on how he packages the whole thing. But he's on the hook to maintain it. He's on the hook for the property taxes. He's on the hook for the deposit. He's on the hook for all of the bullshit that goes through having to buy a house, because it's just hard to do, because they don't just go, hey, we trust you. Here are your keys, which again makes sense. So as much as I can appreciate you kind of having that moment where you go, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I kicked in 50% of the mortgage, like maybe I should get a little something. On top of it, we don't even know if he's selling the house. So what's he supposed to do? Like, hey, let's agree on a number, and I'm going to give you like 10 grand or 5 grand. And by the way, that's the other thing, is if things are tight for him and he has these child support payments, do you know how much it sucks in a house that he's not even selling? Because I don't think you've mentioned at any point that he's going to sell, that he's supposed to, and I'm going to guess like 5 or 10 grand would sting.
Totally.
So he's supposed to just out of nowhere be like, yeah, here's a check because potentially my house is going to be worth a lot more and you paid rent towards me. So this is a massive, massive no for me. And I wouldn't even ask. But people do. People do. I think being roommates is different than if you're talking about somebody that you're going to be starting a family with. I don't think that they're the same. And I'm honestly surprised that when you listen to what we were talking about, that then you were like, hey, this house is worth more on Zillow. Maybe I'll ask this guy about it. So I remember I had a friend who was paying a pretty steep rent for a nice house in a nice area. And, the kids were in the right school. He wasn't sure how long he was going to be living in the area. And I said, hey, did you end up buying this? He goes, no, but, I'm hoping maybe after 2 years of paying rent that we can work something out with the owner. And I'm like, what are you, high? Like that doesn't,
it's not time
doesn't
served,
work that
pal.
way.
You don't get time served.
That's not the way it works. Like if I own a house and somebody's paying rent for 2 years towards it, let's say, I don't know, let's just throw a round number on it. Say I own a house and somebody's paying $3 grand a month. So now we're at 36, we're at $72,000 that they've paid me in rent. In that time, I've still had to keep up maintenance. I've still had to pay my mortgage on it. I've still had to pay property taxes on all of it. And then say the house is worth $500,000, right? And then the guy, after 2 years of paying me rent, says, hey, I'd like to buy the house. And I go, okay, well, make me an offer. Let's figure out something that works. Okay, but first I'd like the price to be $72,000 less because of the rent that I've paid. And be like, hey, those weren't mortgage payments, man. Those are rent payments. So when my friend was like, I'm hoping to work out something with the owner of the house because of all the rent that I paid towards it. Again, not impossible. It depends a lot on the market and maybe the owner wanting to move off of the house. But you realize if you were to assume that this person could then apply your rent towards the purchase price of something, that it's like, then what was I just doing? Letting you live there for free for a couple of years? Like what are we talking about here? So we can get very one-sided with the way that we perceive things, but in this instance, I would say this isn't even debatable for me. And I'm sure somebody will chime in and say, well, actually, this, and I'd be like, no, I'm not changing my mind on this one at all. So again, I wasn't trying to be harsh. I think you're totally off on this one. Kyle?
Yeah, as you know, a big Judge Judy fan. This is like the defendant's countersuit of harassment or defamation or emotional suffering. It gets baseless and it gets thrown out in 2 seconds. Judge Judy's like, no, I don't care. I don't care about your emotional suffering.
How often has anyone ever in Judy's court for defamation?
Well, it's
what
always,
level of defamation are we talking about?
It's always so
here?
funny because it's always Facebook, and it's like somebody's hair salon. He's like, "Don't go there. She fucked my hair up. She stole from me." And then he's like, "That's defamation." It's like, "No, you fucked up her haircut, and so that's not defamation if it's true." And he's like, "Yeah, but I lost business, and she talked to my cousin and told my cousin that I'm no good at hair." And so it's always like, it's baseless, and it's just like, I get it. And for this guy, it's like, yeah, all right, so you've been living there, but let's say a tree crashed through the garage while you're living there. The renter, isn't involved in repairing that. If the basement floods, you, the renter, isn't that, like, just because you have a place to live. I mean, that's the nature of renting. Like, you have nothing to show for it, but you have all the freedom to leave when you're deciding it's time to get your own place. So that's the trade-off. And you didn't have any of the stress of having to own this house and keep it running while you were living there. So that's why you don't get any of the good stuff when you decide to stop renting.
Again, unless it was some sort of 50-50 deal where if the water heater thing came up, he threw in some cash. I'm trying to have
he would have
any
mentioned
kind of
that though.
Yeah,
Like that would be on his side. Like,
Totally.
that would
Right.
be a case for why he would, and he hasn't made that case. And it goes back to the point where your buddy, I'm sorry, he took on all the risk, man. Like I know you helped him out and you were paying rent, and that's great, but it's not like he's pocketing whatever your rent money is every month, as you said, Ryan. He took on the risk, he made the investment at the time, and even if he could have not have done it on his own because he needed, a roommate and you to live there, that you're just kind of shit out of luck, man. That's kind of it's kind of like business owners, right? Like they're the ones, like when these CEOs and they blow up, these companies blow up and they make all this money. Well, they took the risk to start this business too. Like that, it's not like anybody could have done that. So I kind of look at it the same way, and unfortunately, you're kind of just shit out of luck here.
Yeah, I have a really hard time with, when people get pissed at other people being successful starting a business, and you just go, do you realize how hard it is to do what this person did? I mean, and I'm not talking about the WeWork bullshit and, some of these other things that we all read about, and I'm fascinated by these, but more often than not, it's, okay, what were you doing? And people don't understand the beginning. They don't see the beginning. They don't see all the hours. They don't see all the other stuff. And then they see some headline about how much money somebody made. And then it just becomes, oh, that guy. Like, what did you think they did? He was walking down the street. Somebody just cut him a check. So anyway, that's it. I think that's the podcast. I think we're good here. Please subscribe. Ryen Russillo Podcast, Ringer, Spotify. Thanks to Kyle and Steve. Kyle, who's your favorite judge? To least rank the judges, rank the TV judges.
Okay, it's Judy Mathis. I like Judge Hatchett. She's not really doing it. She's not on the same level anymore. Hot bench is 3 judges, and I really like that. So it's gonna go Judy.
Why is it hot bench? What happens?
I don't know. Judy's an executive producer on Hot Bench, but there's 3 judges, and they kind of gang up on the person, and then they go into their chambers and deliberate after like 2 commercial breaks, and then they come back and announce it.
So it's like Shark Tank for legal issues.
Yeah, kind of, but they retire to their chambers and then talk about it, and then the one guy's like, "Well, I dissent," so they come back and it's 3, so somebody always gets overruled. But it's a good show. But I put them all.
How hot are they?
There's one judge that's pretty hot. The other one's like sort of milfy. I can't even say that. I gotta hold on. She's an older woman who's beautiful, and then there's a guy who looks like I'd have a beer with. So those guys are great.
Stifler's mom action.
Yeah.
On,
and then the People's Court, Judge Milian. I've had a crush on her since I was like 15. But she's number 4 now.
I got to ask you then, if you're an expert on this, we could probably do 20 minutes with Kyle on this. We won't do it right now because the podcast is over. But is Steve Harvey even licensed to do this?
Definitely
what were the
not.
protocols? Yeah. What were the protocols here with Steve Harvey?
Definitely not. I mean, I think it's, if you listen to the actual intros, I haven't watched the show yet, but you best believe I will. If you listen to the intros of all of these, it's like these people have a case pending in civil court, and they've agreed as to have this person be the mediator, basically. So none of these things are actually courtrooms, obviously. So they all just sign a contract that whatever this person X decides is what we'll do, and then they have like a limit of up to like $5,000 is all that they can be on the hook for. So you can sign that contract for anybody. I could do it. I could be there. And they just signed a contract. Kyle? Yeah.
I'd watch that.
And they get paid for this? Did they get paid for going on?
They get appearance fees, I'm pretty sure, because once Judge Judy like hated one guy, she's like, first of all, I think he was the defendant. And he's like, you're gonna pay the maximum the $5,000 that we could put you on the hook for. Also, did you get an appearance fee for coming today? He was like, yeah. She's like, well, you're not getting it. And classic Judy.
Yes.
I don't even know if she could do that, but I do know.
Classic Judy.
I think that's why people would agree, because they'd probably get some sort of appearance fee to fly from Wisconsin to come here and be paraded by Judge Judy. But
yeah, embarrass yourself on television.
I'll just say it. I don't like Judge Judy.
That's a shame.
Why not?
Just don't like her. Don't like her vibe.
No nonsense. That's the thing. The legal system can't always sniff this out, but she can see when a guy's being dishonest. She's no nonsense, too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she plays favorites. I was out on her. I watched.
Well, do your research before you show up and know what to be. Don't talk over her.
I get that part of it. I respect.
Don't interrupt
respect
when someone's telling a story.
The position. Yeah, but I don't know. I think she sort of kind of sizes somebody up, and then that's why the show works.
Yeah,
she just sizes somebody up. I'm more, courtroom doesn't really work like that, guys.
Oh no. Yeah, we'll never be watching a marathon.
The purity of the judicial system.
Yeah, I mean seriously. So you guys think that's how it works?
Fine.
Okay, that is the end of the podcast.
Swear to God.